Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Owen, Crimi-Trent, and today we're going to play around with wet on wet, abstract, a little bokeh, a little fun, winter watercolor tutorial. I have a reference photo we go by. I show you how you can take a reference photo and just play around with it to make it a little more abstract or fun. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. I try and get back to them. I can't always answer everything, but I try and do my best. If you haven't hit that little bell, boop, boop, over here on the side, hit that bell notification button to know my tutorials are up so that you know when I'm doing them. I'm not always on time. I usually do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I usually try and get around 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but sometimes it's off. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and also check out my Patreon. I have ad-free videos, traceables, exclusive tutorials on Thursdays that are not on YouTube, that come with traceables, reference photos, and they're a lot longer than YouTube videos. And on the top tier, I have a live stream once a month on every third Thursday of the month for the live stream at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's a place people go and support my channel, which I appreciate so much. Check it out right up here. Boop. So without further ado, let's have some fun painting a winter watercolor. Alright guys, I'm going to go over all my supplies for this tutorial today. I have a piece of Arch 100% cotton cold pressed paper taped down with Scotch Magic tape. This is the tape that I use, that I like. It really holds it down nicely. I don't like washi tape. I feel like it doesn't stick well, and I don't have a problem having it tear the paper. Just pull the tape away from you and it won't tear. It would tear the cardboard, but it doesn't seem to be tearing the Arch paper at all. I'll be playing around using my Princeton 12 Neptune series brush. It's kind of like a nice big, you have a big nice mop kind of brush, and then playing around with my Princeton 8 long round because it's got a nice point on it. I give you the reference photo here. I really loved it because this is something you can play around with, black and white, right? It's monochromatic. You see that the river is here, it's the cold winter scene, and it's black and white. But we can play around with color. You see a black and white photograph, you can pretend that these are greens, you know. You obviously think they were greens. You can make the sky, keep it gray, or add some blue tones to it. I think I'm going to keep it mostly in the black and white tones, but add some of the greens to it. You know, and play around maybe with a little pink or something. So, you know, I have my paints here in my palette. I go over them as I use them, and I always have them in description box. There's words on the bottom left-hand side that say show more. There's a little V underneath it. You hit that V, the whole box drops down, and you can see everything. And of course, I have my water jars up here. So let's get started. And also, if you have close by like an old credit card or just an old piece of like thick, you know, even the Arch paper card, we're going to play around with that too. I'm going to play around with a bunch of different things for this one. So you see this photograph. I can't do the picture-in-picture on this because I have to pull it up really hard. But I'm just going to grab some water. Now, obviously, this is the snow. We want to keep it mostly white. So I'm not going to really touch that. You're really going to just touch the center in here, right? And then you're going to do the stuff out here. So if you want to just start with this part or this part, but I'm going to start with the top part, the sky. I'm just going to get it wet. Now I know that I drew kind of like the V where these trees go and this. So I'm just going to get this part all wet. And where it's wet, the paint will go, and where it's not, it will not. So I'm just going to put that right there like that, going across. This tape actually doesn't want to stay down. I don't know why, but we're going to make it. Just going across with my big old moppy number 12 brush. Now I'm going to mix up some gray tones. I have neutral tint over here, which is kind of like a nice purple gray. Simple. Now, if you, like I said, if you want to add color, you can take some ultramarine blue and add those two colors together, and you get a blue gray. You can just do a whole monochromatic design on various grays. I have black gouache that I could water down, and see, now that's more like a brown gray. You see the different color tones? Getting more blue, brown. You know, add that gouache up here and add some of the ultramarine blue to it. Playing around. Just giving you a guide. Doesn't mean you have to do exactly that. So I think the neutral tint. I'm just gonna like wash in the sky. See that there? Just very loosely. Now you can take your, I taped this on a piece of cardboard. You can just go like this and it will bleed downward. You see how it's bleeding downward? And it's only going to go where the water is. See how it stops right there? It pools. You can lift up that paint just with your brush and tap it on your paper towel. You can add some of this deeper brownish gray. You know, you can just play around with the sky. It doesn't have to look exactly like the photograph. The photograph is just a guide to give you an idea. My sky might be a little stormier, you know. Voila. See, this is like lighter here. I could make it lighter. I can just lift up the paint, play around with that, and keep it on the lighter side. A little stormy up there. Or I can just lift it up again. So I'm just going to play around with that. We can start to add in the trees. Now the trees can still stay gray, black. I might just make them actually green. So I'll take my Prussian blue. I'm not going to actually clean my brush. Still using number 12 brush. I'm going to add some cadmium yellow deep. Going to grab some more yellow. And some more Prussian blue. And then I'm going to add a little burnt umber. You kind of usually supposed to clean up your brushes. I kind of messing it up and going in and grabbing some stuff. You can actually go in and add some neutral tint to this too. So you're getting this really deeper, almost like a gray green. I'm going to go back in and add more yellow. I want a little bit thicker, less water. See, got that green again. Going to add that brown. A little bit of neutral tint. Really just dark. So, let's try something different, huh? We'll take our brush. You can still use this brush. And we're just going to go over here. See, you can see the line here. And again, it's black, but we're making it green. Can add a little neutral tint to this. It's right on there. So we're going to kind of do like an abstract that goes with this. Yeah. Just like that. Line across. Now, I'm going to clean up my brush. I'm going to add a little water here. Right next to it. And then we can flip it. And see if it bleeds a little bit. If it doesn't, you take your trusty spray bottle, spritz it. Look at that. Play around with that. So we got like this big old tree coming down, huh? If you flip it back, it kind of made those perfect trees. I don't like the big old tree. We go back, take our brush, and lift it up. But I do like how it made these trees kind of by itself. Go in here and dabble some more of this black color here. And again, flip it. If you want some tall trees, add some of that neutral tint, tapping it in here so it's a little bit dark. And then flipping it back. So I had some trees here. Got a little tall over here. Again, take your brush, clean it off, lift it, and remove it. So we're creating the look, but it's slightly different because we added the green. Now I did spray it and I'm getting the color in here, and I want to keep it white. You might want to cover it, or you can clean up your brush really quickly and just kind of lift up the paint by grabbing a paper towel. I'm grabbing a paper towel. I'm just kind of lifting that because you still want to keep that part really white. And that all looks good to me, and I'm leaving it like that. Now look at a hard edge over here. I'm going to add some water. My water has a little green tint to it. Going back over here. Like I said, we're using this as a guide. And you can see there's light gray trees and there's dark ones up front. you can go in and just add this neutral tint. I might add neutral tint with a little green. And just make these, I'm just washing in the simple color here above this one, right? For that green, kind of light green trees. And if you want to flip it, again, it's a lighter color. Going back in here. Just going to tap the tree color. Much more watered down. Tap, 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 tap. So it kind of bleeds a little bit. Okay. Good enough for me. It doesn't have to look perfect like this one. So like I said, I'm playing around with color with it. So you can take a black and white photograph and you can just change it with the color. Now over here, going back to this dark greens again, right? Just doing that line. I'm going to add some neutral tint to it. Maybe a little thicker on there. This is where we can use the card and play around with it. So I've got the card. I'm just going to dip it in the green and that neutral tint. All right? Maybe it's a little too big. We can get even tinier. Tiny piece. Just grab the edge. Look at that. I want you guys to have fun and play. I mean, listen to me. I'm laughing, right? See, I'm just looking, these lines going up and down, and it kind of like sprays out like this, so it kind of has that evergreen tree look without having to use a brush. You don't have to always just use brushes. We're using cards, piece of scrap. I'm going to grab, I need to make some more green. So I'm mixing some peacock blue, Prussian blue, green. Just making these little lines going up, and they'll bleed out because it's wet. And they can also count as a guide for you where your tree would go. Nice little bleed here. Now, these ones are not really bleeding like the other one, and you want it taller. So these are nice tall trees up here. This is when you take the number 8 Princeton. Gonna make some more green. Again, with the yellow and the Prussian blue. And a little brown. And some neutral tint. Oops. Got a little brown in here. Okay. So I'm just gonna go up. And then I could just do wiggle, 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 wiggle sound effects, see? That one's a little bit dark. Again, we can go down. Oop, I don't want to get, doesn't matter if I got paint there because it had my little splotches. And we're going to go, see how I do this wiggle, wiggle? Now it's kind of dark right now. Just going back and forth, wiggle, wiggle. And you've got your trees. And you kind of got one down here. And if it bleeds, that's great because you want more of a subtle looking tree. Now, we can make them look more atmospheric or realistic depending on how you want to do this. So right now I'm just doing that wiggle movement. You know, it's not as perfect as these little big old trees. These are much bigger. Made mine a little bit smaller. You can make them much bigger. We can go back in and really make them a big tree. So it really stands out. See? Really big. And there were some subtle ones. Again, just a little line, a couple little lines going down. It's going to bleed over here. Now it's not quite like this, but it doesn't need to be. And then you can play around again, flipping it and spritzing it. Let's see what happens. Now it's really going to be the tall trees, right? Goes right up to the page. And you've got this atmospheric kind of look. If you don't like that, you can take your number 8, clean it off, have a paper towel close by, and kind of lift up some of the paint. Or even with the paper towel, you can lift up some of the paint. See? Just kind of tapping it. And you've got that really kind of atmospheric look. Just see him removing it, tapping it. Very subtle, which I love. That's how you get that really kind of cool abstract look. Now again, it's sprayed it here, so you might want to cover when you spray. I can just go in and clean up my brush, put some water here, grab a paper towel, and remove it. Just little tricks of the trade. So now we're going to do the river. We're going to play around with the river. So again, we've got grays in here, but I added green, so we're going to have to add grays and greens. Here's that neutral tint again. Water it down. You see how the reflection of the trees are kind of coming down here and over in here. So it's kind of lighter. So we're going to start off by taking this color. It will be a little bit dark on the back. Just going across. See this movement? I'm going like this with my brush. You can get real intense towards the snow. See, it already looks like snow because it's all white down here. And you have this real intense abstract kind of style. Now here's the green. Put some of this green in here because it's reflecting the greens from the trees. Right? Again, here's the neutral tint. Now it's not going to look exactly like the picture, but you get the idea, like the feeling of it, this river. You can keep the white snow parts in here, just like leaving them, see, got some little snow. I would go around it like this. I'm just kind of winging that. And I'm just going to add in this gray paint. And then there's some green. You kind of just kind of wiggle like the trees, right? And then I'm going to go in and wash in this neutral tint color. Here it's a little lighter in here. So we're going to take some water right next to that color, wash it in. We can remove it. You can fill it. See, I'm taking some dark color now, filling in really right against that white area. And then going into the lighter colors. So it reflects a little bit. Already looks like that deep river, right? It's not exactly like the photograph, but it's close. But we're not caring about that. We're using the photograph as inspiration. We changed it by the trees. We dabbled with the paint. We moved things around. I mean, you could paint anything you want realistically if you wanted to. But I want you to figure out how to take pictures that you've taken or other pictures and get a feeling for how you can change them up. So you can see that there's a reflection of the darker green or trees there. Gonna make some dark green again. Sorry, don't what I do with the yellow. I'm just gonna try and do it for teaching purposes fast. So I'm kind of wiggling this tree in here again. Cleaning up my brush. And just gonna put in some water here and so I can wash in some color pretty quickly. Already with the intensity of the really dark gray, blue color against the white, you already see that it's snow. You already can feel that. Right? You feel like it's a snowy lake. Then you can go in and add little marks in here if you wanted to, for like, see, just like making little gray marks you can see in the snow. You can add some grass. Now I'm going to take those little marks, I'm going to take some water, clean up my brush, and kind of push that paint around a little bit. You don't have to do any of that. So like I said, I'm just going to go back in here, add a little more gray, and go and take my green. Now I can just do these lines that are going down here. See, I just do straight lines, and I can do the wiggle from there. And we could also spritz that, so it's a little more bleeding, atmospheric. Boom. So it has that look to it, that it's reflecting. You see, it's hard to see the subtleness of the color, but I can see it. You would see it on yours, and you'll see if you did this. So you're just going to do the same thing we did for the trees up here. So already it's kind of cool. Now this stuff all dried, kind of funky and light and atmospheric. We could keep it that way, but we want to go back in and add some more trees that look a little more realistic, and then some snow. So I'm mixing up with a deep dark green again, adding a little more blue to my green. I'm taking number 8, and again, I just go down and just make the little trees. See how I'm just making back and forth? Not much of a, less of a squiggle, more of a real concentrated, you know, tree. Lines going this way. It doesn't have to look perfectly like they're trees. You can make it like that. Again, the line. Back here, make them really tiny and skinny. Get a little bit darker. See, I'm just adding some trees. And we can go back in and add the white snow. So I know it seems futile, like why are we painting them back in and then adding white? Because then you have that background tree that's really subtle. And you see in here, it gets really deep and dark. So I'm going to add some neutral tint up in here. Dry brush, see I'm not really kind of adding a lot of water. I'm going back in here and there's trees. They're loose, they're not perfect. You can sit there and make them perfect if you want to. I'm just not going to do that. And then back here, you could add some nice, perfect little trees. See? Gets a little bit darker here. Gonna play around with that. Let's see this up close. I kind of like the way that the atmosphere kind of looks, and then we can start playing around with throwing in some snow. I saw a picture that I was gonna print for you guys, but I can't find it. It was kind of cool. It's like the photographer manipulated it by adding, like, you know, realistically it wouldn't look like that in a photograph. This fun snow. So the photographer's doing it. We can do the same thing. So I'm going in and adding these trees. I might make some that really realistic. Just right here, and keep that subtle ones in the background. Like that. So then we have our water here, like I said. You can take the same brush or a smaller brush, take some nice brown number. You can make little sprays in the grass of like where the snow is. Just some subtle grass. We want to keep it really simple like this. And if you want, you can see in the front, you get some more shadows going with the gray. You can take your big old mop brush with your ultramarine and your neutral tint And just kind of play around with adding in some shadow, right, of the snow. Not too much, just a little bit. So it just has this really kind of subtle look. We still want to keep it really intense back here. And just having that white color does that. But you can play around adding a little more subtle variations of gray kind of coming in here. Just, it's still going to pop, but I'm going to remove this part. I don't like that. But I do like it over here. And some of it over here I don't. So just kind of remove it if you don't like it. But I like a little bit of this gray coming in over here. Just a little bit. So it's not so shh in your face, which I love with the river. So I just sped this up. I'm just going to go over all those little trees and all the little branches with the white gouache so you can see the subtle snow. It's very simply just grab the gouache with a little, water to it. If you add more water, it'd be more translucent. This is a little more opaque so you can see the snow. See, I zoomed in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. If I don't add a lot of water, I get the dry brush technique and just kind of wiggle my brush back and forth, as you see, just on top of those trees with the white gouache. Now you don't have to add this. I'm choosing to add this because I kind of like the look. I like the look of the snowy trees. And of course, you know what I'm going to do next, right? But yeah, just go back and forth and just fill in all the trees with the snow. So now I'm going to grab my gouache. I'm just speeding this up again for all intents and purposes. I'm splattering it all around. You know me, I love to have fun with it. So it look like it's snow. As you get closer, it gets a little more intense and splatter. And now I'm intentionally putting in like nice big rounded snowflakes, kind of like that bokeh look. So you can water the gouache down a little bit so it's a little more translucent. And you get these nice big snowflakes. I kind of going by this photograph I saw somewhere that looked kind of, it was a realistic photo of like a winter scene, but then you go in and throw in these big old white snowflakes. I thought it was kind of fun, and we can do the same thing here. Because why not have some fun, right? It's all supposed to be about fun. Now, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to do this, but I chose to do this. I thought it would be a lot of fun. Yeah, I think I achieved what I was looking for, and if I can find that photograph, it'd be great. So like I said, when you move the tape, grab one of these tapes, I kind of pull it away. See? Pull it away. You get that nice white border. And it never rips the paper. It's nice and clean. Isn't that fun? Wasn't that fun? I hope you guys enjoyed that. Oh, look, it's really out of, there we go. Hope you enjoyed that. I really did. So this is how you take a photograph, monochromatic. I could have added the front trees, which I didn't, which are kind of here. I just don't think it was necessary. But it's a little play on bokeh. It's a little play on wet. It's a little play on abstract. It's all a combination of the three. And if you wanted to go in and put some little white streaks in here to make it seem a little more realistic, like a river. Like I'm saying, I'd say grab my white gouache. You can go and add just like these little white streaks. But it's not necessary. We know it's a river. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for stopping by my channel. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Have fun with it. Please don't stress out. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. And if you haven't hit the bell notification button, please do so to know when my tutorials are up. Have fun, guys. Don't stress and enjoy. Take care.